What's up, Coaster Demons? Today I will be ranking all the roller coasters at Cedar Point. I went here for the first time this year. I had 2 days there, and this is by far my favorite park I've been to. I'll do a full review on this park very soon, but overall it's a great park, and they have an amazing coaster lineup. I rode 15 of their coasters. Top Thrill Dragster was closed on me, and I was too tall to ride Wilderness Run, so I wasn't able to ride those. But I rode their other 15 coasters. So yeah, let's get right into this video. Number 15 is Woodstock Express. This is a pretty terrible kiddie coaster, honestly. The ride was rough, it was jerky, the layout's boring, and this was just overall not a fun experience at all. And plus the trains are so crammed that I could barely fit on the ride. Number 14 is Cedar Creek Mine Ride. This ride is just plain out stupid. The ride is boring. It's jerky at some points. There's only one airtime moment, which is actually a good airtime moment, but the rest of the ride is just so boring. I could literally take a nap on it if I wanted to. It's that boring. This is just overall a really stupid coaster. Number 13 is Iron Dragon. I actually thought this ride was going to be really dumb. However, I actually enjoyed it. My car actually swung a lot. The ride had some solid forces. And I like how you go over the water at some points on this ride. This overall was actually a really fun family coaster that I really did enjoy. I thought this ride was going to be very boring. However, it wasn't. This is actually a really fun family coaster. Number 12 is Gemini, and I'm going to be honest, I was very disappointed with this coaster. I went in with high expectations, expecting this ride to give great ejector airtime on most of the hills, and it only had 2 ejector airtime moments. Those were pretty strong, but other than that, this ride had no airtime at all. Well, maybe some weak floater moments. I like the dueling aspect of the ride. The ejector airtime hills are great, but this ride was kind of boring at the same time. Not that boring, but it was a little bit boring at some times. But those 2 ejector airtime moments and the dueling aspect make up for it, kinda, I guess. This was overall still a very fun ride, but I thought it was going to be so much better. Number 11 is Corkscrew, and this ride is actually a really fun coaster. I don't know why people hate on it. It's very smooth, actually. That airtime hill after the drop gives insane ejector airtime. This ride has some good forces. The inversions are actually really fun. No headbanging at all, or at least I didn't get any headbanging. And I just don't get the hate for this ride. I really liked it. I thought it was butter smooth. I thought the inversions were fun. This is actually better than Gemini, in my opinion, by a good margin. I really enjoy Corkscrew. Now into the top 10 we go. Number 10 is Vauravan. Now, my first 2 rides on this were in the front row, and if I only got those 2 front row rides, Vauravan would be number 12 at the park. I thought front row was stupid and boring and did nothing. However, my back ride on it on my second day was really good. It gave very strong projector on the first drop and the drop off the mid-course. The final inversion gives great hang time, and that airtime hill actually surprisingly gives some good airtime. However, those first 2 inversions don't really give any hang time, I'll say that. The pull-out actually pulls some good forces as well, but there's one really weird thing about this ride. This ride is rough, and I don't know why, but it was. But overall, I really did enjoy Vauravan on my 3rd ride, and this is just overall a pretty underrated coaster that I really liked. Number 9 is Wicked Twister. As you know, I love Possessed at Dorney Park, so I really like this ride for sure. This was a really good ride. I'm sad they got rid of it because this is actually my favorite defunct coaster I've ridden. And this is my favorite Intimate Impulse I've done too, out of the 2 I've ridden, this and Possessed. The launches are great. The spikes are awesome. You actually get some airtime on the back where it spikes since you're up there for a bit. You actually come out of your seat a little bit. This is just overall was a really fun ride. And I'm sad Cedar Point got rid of it because I really enjoyed this ride. Well, I enjoy Impulses a lot, and Wicked Twister was no exception. This was a great ride. Number 8 is Blue Streak, and this is an awesome classic Woody. This ride has great ejector airtime. It's actually decently smooth. Well, some of the valleys are rough, but other than that, this ride is pretty smooth. But the ejector airtime on those first 2 hills are crazy. And the final airtime hills also give some pretty good flow ejector airtime. And this was just a very underrated coaster that I really enjoyed. The airtime on those first two hills, though, wow, it's really strong. And the drop in the back row is also really strong, too. This is one of my favorite classic Woodies I've ridden. This is just overall a really fun ride that I really liked. Number 7 is Gatekeeper. This is my favorite B&M wing coaster I've done out of the two I've ridden. I've ridden Wild Eagle and this now, and Gatekeeper is definitely better. The inversions are a lot of fun. The ride is butter smooth. That airtime hole surprisingly gives really good floater airtime. But I really like that keyhole element over the entrance as well. The head chopper effect on that inversion is really good. This ride was also pretty forceful. Like, I heard it was forceless. I thought this ride was actually pretty forceful. The inversions are just so much fun, though, too. And I love that drop. That drop is amazing. Like, the drop on this, you get hang time, like, as you're cresting over, and then you just get whipped down, especially if you're in the back row. Like, definitely in the back row, you'll get whipped. Yeah, you get whipped on this ride, surprisingly, actually, if you sit in the back row. Overall, Gatekeeper is a really, really fun wing coaster, and it is the best B&M wing coaster I've ridden so far. Number 6 is Rougeau. This is my second favorite B&M four-wheelist I've ridden. This ride is awesome. It's butter smooth, the inversions are great, the ride is pretty intense, and I love the setting of the ride too. Over the water, it just looks so cool. Rougeau, I don't understand the hate for it. I don't know how people call this thing rough, honestly. This thing was butter smooth. Like, literally, it was so smooth. It's one of the smoothest B&Ms I've ridden. As I said, this is my second favorite forest, only behind Hydra the Revenge at Dorney Park. Yes, I prefer this to forests such as Bizarro and Dominator, which are two other forests I've ridden. I'll do a video on ranking every forest coaster I've ridden soon, but Rougeau is my second favorite forest at the moment. This was just overall such a good ride. I really liked it. And there were also some pretty good airtime moments on Rougeau. Overall, Rougeau is a great ride. Into the top 5 we go, and number 5 is Raptor, my favorite B&M invert. Raptor beats out Alpi as my favorite B&M invert after riding it. Raptor is amazing. The ride is extremely intense, it's extremely whippy and aggressive, the inversions are great, and that Cobra roll, somehow in the back row on the right side of the train, you get inverted ejector airtime. And that's just insane. Raptor is also butter smooth for how old it is. I don't know how people call this thing rough. This thing was butter smooth. Almost all my rides were in the back row. Another one of my rides was in row 4. But no matter where you sit on this ride is awesome no matter where you sit. This is a great B&M invert and one of the best B&M inverts in my opinion. This was an awesome coaster that I really, really liked. And it's in my top 25 at the moment. Alright, these next 4 coasters are all in my top 20 coasters I have ridden. Number 4 is Millennium Force. This coaster was a huge surprise for me. When I went into it, I wasn't expecting a lot from it from what I've heard about it. However, this ride is insane. The back row, that drop, oh my gosh. The ejector airtime is insane. You're literally standing up on the drop. The ride pulls some really good forces. The ride is pretty intense. The pacing is top notch. The pacing is amazing on this. The airtime hose give strong floater or even strong ejector. This ride is just amazing. And night rides on this. Night rides are crazy. They're just amazing. Millennium Force overall is an extremely underrated coaster. I don't understand the hate for it. It's not Millennium Force Wish at all. This is for sure Millennium Force. Overall, Millennium Force is an amazing coaster. And now we're in the top 3, and these next 3 coasters are all in my top 10 coasters I've ridden. Number 3 is Magnum XL200. What an incredible coaster. Every hill on this ride gives strong ejector airtime. The drop and that first hill after the drop gives strong flow ejector actually. So not every hill gives ejector, but almost every hill gives an ejector. Also that turnaround, I don't get the hate for it. I actually like the turnaround. I thought it was pretty forceful and then aggressive. People say this ride is really rough. However, honestly, I didn't find it rough. I found it jerky, and jerky in a good way. This is just an overall absolutely amazing coaster. It literally has RMC level ejector airtime on those triangle hills. This absolutely destroys every B&M hyper I've ridden. This is just an amazing hyper coaster that I don't understand why people hate it so much. This thing's absolutely world class. This is an amazing hyper coaster. And a must ride when you go to Cedar Point, just like the next two coasters on this list are must-rides at Cedar Point. Number 2 is Maverick. What an amazing Intamin. This is the second best Intamin coaster I've ridden, only behind Skyrush. This was my number 1 Intamin actually until a few days ago when I got a night ride on Skyrush and that dethroned Maverick. Maverick is amazing. The ejector airtime on this ride is so strong. The ride is extremely aggressive and whippy, especially those snaps. The inversions give solid hang time, and that second launch is insane. Best launch I've ever experienced, for sure. That launch is amazing. Also, the part where you go over the water is really cool, too. This ride is just perfect. It's overall such an amazing coaster. I love it so much, and it's just such a great ride. And the Stangle dives on this thing are also insane, too. They literally feel like I-305 snaps. This is just overall such an amazing coaster. It's my second favorite Intamin, as I said. This is just an amazing ride. And finally, we're at number 1, and number 1 is Steel Vengeance. Steel Vengeance is not only the best coaster at Cedar Point, but my number 1 coaster overall, and what I think is probably the best coaster in the entire world. This thing is perfect. Every hill is strong ejector airtime. The inversions are whippy and aggressive, and they feel snappy kind of too. This thing was just amazing. It has one of the best drops of all time, in my opinion. But the airtime on this thing is unbelievable. Easily the strongest airtime I've ever experienced. And that's controversial because I've ridden Lightning Rod, Skyrush, and El Toro. But this easily probably has the best airtime I've ever experienced. The airtime on this thing is just insane. The finale on this ride is just insane. Literally standing airtime almost. Well, this whole ride feels like standing airtime literally. You get stabled sometimes on some moments, but this whole ride, it's just pure insanity, this whole ride. It's just incredible. This is definitely number 1 at Cedar Point. Definitely my number 1 coaster overall. This is just overall such an amazing coaster. And it's a must-ride coaster when you go to Cedar Point. If you could only ride one thing at Cedar Point, make it this ride. This thing is amazing. So yeah, that is my rankings for all the roller coasters I rode at Cedar Point. I'll be back at Cedar Point sometime in the future to ride Top Thrill Dragster. And then I'll probably redo this list so Dragster will be on it. But yeah, that is my rankings of all the coasters I rode at Cedar Point. Make sure to like this video. Also subscribe to the channel. And I will see you all next time. Keep coasting on my coaster demons. Peace out.